On today's podcast, I had Jennings Foster Smith. That's right, he has 3 last names, but this guy is an absolute killer in real estate. In just 3 years, he went from flipping mobile homes, having 0 rentals, to owning over 1,000 apartments and a bunch of storage and a whole bunch of other things. So if you want to hear his story about how he did that in such a short amount of time with not a lot of money, you definitely want to stay here for this podcast. Jennings also actually flips the script on me and starts giving me some questions to answer. So if you want to know what a guy who already owns 1,000 units wants to know from me, who doesn't own 1,000 units, you definitely want to see that, because that's what really smart people do. They ask great questions, and they're always trying to learn. So with that being said, let's jump in the podcast.
Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest,
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
innovate,
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
and inspire.
I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, I've got a real estate mogul who I've met at my buddy Tim Brotz's event before. This man, interesting fact about him, he is the man with 3 last names. I've got none other than Jennings Foster Smith. What's up, dude?
Appreciate you having me, man. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, when you told me you had 3 last names, I was pretty shocked. First time in my life I've heard that.
Well, yeah, it's family name. You know, I'm actually a junior, and my son is the 3rd, so we're carrying it on.
Yeah, your son's got a cool name for sure. Jennings Foster Smith the third.
J cubed.
J cubed. There we go. So, dude, tell everyone what you got going on, man.
Yeah, you know, I was a construction guy and had we built custom homes, renovated bathrooms, kitchens, and got sick of that. You know, that's a tough business to scale and to really make significant money with. So, moved into rental properties, flipping trailers, single-family homes, and then got into multifamily real estate.
Got it. So, tell me a little bit about those early days of flipping the trailers, man.
You know, you started from the bottom. My first trailer was a $5,000 double wide.
Okay.
So the park had repossessed it, and I did not own the park, but they don't like to have, you know, a vacant, not getting lot rent. So they said, you buy this for $5,000, doesn't have any AC, didn't have floors. I mean, it was pretty messed up. But bought that property, put $5,000-$6,000 of my own money into it, did it all myself, and sold it owner finance for, I think, $15,000. Didn't vet the guy. You know, I don't think he even had a job. I think he had a student loan money somehow. Anyways, within 3 months, his dogs had destroyed the place, and he quit paying me, and I had to evict him, and took it. And I almost quit at that point. I was like, this doesn't work, you know. So, but I ended up just selling it and keeping on going, buying them, selling them owner financed, or renting them, vetting the people better, you know, doing background checks, making sure they had a job,
right.
and moved into single family. But it was like, this is going to take me forever to build a portfolio of something that's significant. So I knew I had to do something different. And I was really sick of the transactional stuff with just building houses and remodeling kitchens and stuff.
So, like, how did you transition? Like, at what point? Like, how many did you do? Like, how did it all play out?
Yeah, so I was frustrated. I was looking for something, and this dude from Canada called me. And it was a cold call, Canadian company called Alair Homes, which is a custom construction franchise. Mm-hmm. And they said, hey, you know, we want you to partner with us, and we're going to franchise your company. I was like, cool, how much are you going to pay me? And, you know, you got to pay us. So I had to pay them a franchise fee, pay them royalties, but they had all the processes and systems that allowed me to sell the company. So sold the company, and that gave me a runway to get into multifamily and really focus on buying apartments. So my first apartment, I bought a $1,000 online course. I bought Michael Blank's The Ultimate Apartment Buying Guide, and syndicated a 12-unit up in North Carolina. I bought it for like $250,000, and it was in the middle of nowhere, but it worked. Yeah, we just bumped the rents up, and I sold it a year and a half later, made, you know, $150,000 off of it. And I was like, this works. And so we moved into bigger deals, and to where we are now, which is about 1,000 apartment units and 500 self-storage units, and we got some trailer parks too. So
Right. So tell me about like that first apartment deal, man. Not the first, but like the first bigger one.
First big one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first big one was a 63 unit in Charleston, which is where I'm from. It was in Goose Creek, so a suburb of Charleston. And it wasn't distressed. Like, it was full, but it was run down, not maintained. Rents were pretty low, and it was about to go to market. And we had been telling people that, hey, we buy apartments, kind of a imposter syndrome, but putting it out there.
What year was this?
This was 2019.
Okay.
So we put it out there, and this broker calls my cousin, who's my business partner, Yaden, and says, hey, I got this deal coming online. You want to look at it? And we did not have the ability to like put it under contract. We didn't have the ability to get the loan. We needed to raise $1.2 million. I didn't have that kind of money. So we partnered with a guy that I had met at a real estate conference, actually Tim's conference in 2019.
Uh-huh.
And so he gave me the strength or like mental capacity to be like, you can do this. And so we put this deal under contract. It was like $5 million. And this guy said, hey, I'll raise the capital for you. He was a house flipper.
Uh-huh.
And he thought those skills would translate, and they really didn't. So he's like, I'll bring $1 million, you bring 200,000. So we're 2-3 weeks out from closing. He's like, guys, I'm having trouble raising the money. Like, what do you mean? I was like, how much do you have? He's like, I got like $200,000. And so it was just all hands on deck, and we did. We got the money raised, me, Yaden, my cousin, and Nick, my partner up in Maine, and got the deal across the finish line. And my wife's looking at me, and she's like, Jennings, you're taking on $5 million in debt. Like, if this deal doesn't work out, we're going to lose our house. Like, it wasn't non-recourse. Like, it was a bridge loan, destabilized. Yeah. And, you've borrowed all this money from all these friends and family. Like, we're going to have to leave town. So the gravity was real. But I was like, babe, it's going to work. I promise you, it's going to work. And it did. We hit our pro forma. We exceeded the pro forma. We did the plan, renovated the units, filled it up. We just refinanced it, got the full $1.2 million back out. It appraised, I think, for $8 million.
Nice.
We were all in for like 5.5. And so it was a great deal. And it's cash flowing now and part of the portfolio.
Just chilling.
Just chilling. Yeah. So. It was a great deal.
And that was back in 2019. So,
not too long ago.
Yeah, you're talking a few years. You've accumulated over 1,000 plus the self-storage and all this other stuff. Like, what do you think allowed you to scale so quickly?
I think part of it is putting the pieces in place and the education, learning this stuff. But a lot of it is like grit built over time. I started my own construction company. I had learned sales. I had learned how to instill confidence in people. I think when you see people that get a quick uptick, there's a lot of like stuff that led up to that. And then they finally got unlocked and were able to achieve, because I always knew that I was capable of more. So I think that's a part of it. And then another part of it is masterminds. That may be cliche, but like getting into these groups where people are doing bigger things and you're thinking, he's not any smarter than I am. He works hard, but I work hard too. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. And then that borrowed belief, to see that all I got to do is just put in the work and it'll happen.
Yeah.
Right. Even in your, seeing you in Vegas a few months ago at Tim's event. Seeing what you've achieved in the last, 2 years with your social, it's like, wow, he's putting in the work, he's doing it day in, day out, and it's really starting to exponentially pay off. And it gave me bar belief to like really step up my social game. I was good on Facebook, but I needed to do a little bit more.
You got to step it up.
Yeah.
So I love this concept of borrowed belief in masterminds. For sure, like, number one, masterminds have changed my life, getting around the right people. We're talking about our buddy Tim Bratz. Last year, I didn't have any, syndications or big apartments. And I made a post saying like, this year my goal is to buy 50 rental units. And like, I'm thinking in my head, I might buy like a 20 unit apartment or something, but I'm going to buy a bunch of single family homes. And then, he comments, he's like, dude, you need to buy 500 apartments. And I was like, 500 apartments? I own like 30 right now. How am I going to buy 500? He was like, you're going to syndicate. And I was like, okay, what do I do? And he walked me through it step by step. He goes, here's the lawyers, here's how you do it. And, we're going to do a deal together. Like, I'm going to set you up. You raise the money. I'll bring the deal. I'll operate, and we'll crush. I was like, great. And so, we did all that, and then we did do the first deal together.
Yeah.
And we bought this 334 unit in Georgia, and, it's great. So, just being in the same mastermind as a guy like Tim is what allowed me to do this. Because if I wasn't in that mastermind, I don't have all these units, and I'm not trying to go buy more units. So, like, that's a real-world example in my own life. But the second thing you mentioned of borrowed belief, I think that's so important because, at the end of the day, we hear the same things all the time. Like, we'll hear that, you want to go get deals, you got to make offers. You want to go raise money, you got to go ask people. You got to go make content. You got to do this stuff. And so you hear it over and over, and you kind of become numb to it. It's like, yeah, I've heard that before, whatever. But you get more confidence when you actually see somebody doing it firsthand. When you see the podcast studio, you're like, oh, okay, that's like what it looks like. That's how you do it. I get it now. It makes sense. It's not just me seeing it on video where I know it's happening, but you don't really know.
Yep.
You go walk an apartment for the first time with someone that owns it and he shows you what he's got. You're like, whoa, like he owns this. Like I'm here with him right now. And, to your point, he's not like Superman. He's not anything crazy. He's just a normal guy who like made it happen. And it gives you belief that you can do it. And I've seen that in my own life with everything I've done. Like I've seen these guys accomplish things that I just thought were like, no way.
Yeah.
And then I see it and I'm like, oh, okay, I believe I can do it now.
And that's why it's so critical. Like who are you hanging out with? Are you having the same conversations and the same negativity or average people achieving average things versus getting in those rooms with above average? I'm in the DM family. I don't know if you know Mark Evans, but very, very influential guy in my life and has helped me out a lot. When I was at Tim's event in 2019, there was a guy in the room and they were closing a 204 unit in Oklahoma that day. And Tim mentioned it from the stage, and I was just like, wow, 200 unit apartments. It was just like so far out there as to something that I could achieve. But I was like, I'm going to get there. And after we closed that 63 unit, it was just like, hey, a 200 unit is just nothing but a thing. And 6 months later, we closed a 208 unit in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for $5.5 million. We just refinanced and it just appraised for $13.8 million.
Crazy.
Huge value add. It was 50% vacant. But it's like focusing on those things and seeing other people that have done it. It really cements it versus just hearing. And like you don't need another course. You don't need another motivational quote. You need people in your life, and you need to do the work, of course.
Yeah, that are actually doing it. Like I'll tell you, as somebody who grew up playing baseball, I got to play professionally and play with and against the best players, to ever walk this earth, right? Like I've been on the same field as Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, and you see these guys, and you're like, dude, these guys are on another level. But the difference is, in baseball and sports, you can't do what they do. You physically can't do it. They're that good. But in business, I've yet to see anybody where I looked at them and I was like, dude, this guy's like just so much more supernaturally talented. There's no way I could match his skills. Like, no, I watch somebody and I'm like, walk me through how you did that. Okay, I can do that. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, like there's always natural talent. Don't get me wrong, especially in business. But for the most part, business is a very even playing field in that your physical ability doesn't matter. How you look doesn't necessarily matter. How strong you are, how fast you are, even how smart you are. There's a lot of dumb people that are very successful because they just did smart things. They're not the smartest, but they knew they needed to partner with the smartest. And that's the other part of business is like, if you lack in a skill, you can get a partner.
Yeah.
In sports, you can't do that. Like if you suck in something, it's on you. You're out.
Yeah.
So I love business for that reason because I believe anyone can succeed. And to your point, you have to get around the right people. I remember, the first time I ever made 6 figures in a year, it was like mind blowing because I didn't have any friends who were making 6 figures a year. I was like, dude, this is nuts. Like I'm killing it. And then, I started to meet some people who were making over $1 million in a year. And I was like, what? How did you make $1 million in a year?
Right.
That's crazy. And then, you hang out with them and then you do it and you're like, wow, that's nuts. And then I remember meeting the first, somebody who made $1 million in a month. I was like, that guy made $1 million in a month. That is insane. And then I did it. And I was like, what's next?
Right.
And I start talking to these guys. Like I start talking to like entrepreneurs at the highest level, getting around billionaires. I remember I was with Brad Lee, who's here in Vegas too. He was like, dude, you're going to be a billionaire one day. And I was like, a billionaire? Like, what do you mean? I've never even thought about being a billionaire. That's like, dude, I would have been happy to be a millionaire 5 years ago.
Right.
And he was like, dude, think about it, man. I've been around these guys like Cardone and everyone else. He's like, Cardone, you're 33. Cardone's whatever, 60-something. He didn't start buying real estate until he was way older than you. Like, he didn't start doing social media until he's way older. Like, where do you think you're going to be when you're 65? I was like, when you put it that way, like, I've never thought that far down the road, but, it makes sense. And it's just like getting around people who, like, make you believe that you can do these things.
Yes.
And so to see like a guy like him tell me that, and because he has firsthand experience, he's not just like my homie. Like,
Right.
you're going to make it, dude. Like, no, he's like a guy who's seen it from multiple people. He's like, dude, you already have like what these guys have.
I feel like Mark Evans did that a lot for me. Just kind of speaking that vision into my life of where I could go. And yeah, we underestimate what you can achieve in 10 years. I mean, I think about, what's happened just over the last 3 years. Even to make a few $100,000, $400,000 or $500,000 in a year was just, whoa, I would be just killing it if I could make that happen. Right. And then those things fall, and then they kind of just become like checkpoints. It's like because we still want to make progress, right? We're not. It's not that we need more or want more, but we want to still win and we want to make progress. Is at least how I view it.
100%. I read a book called Winning by Tim Grover, and he kind of started to explain what I've always kind of felt. He's basically like, we always want to, like, winners want to win. Like, you're always playing a new game. It's not just, we reach the goal of making $1 million in a year and, like, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, how do we make 2, 10, whatever, right? Whatever the next game is. And so, winners are always motivated to win. They'll always set themselves a new target because they just can't lose and just chill and relax.
I know sometimes I'm like, why do I, because it takes pressure and it takes discomfort to push beyond that. And it's like, why do I do that? But I know, I'm not going to be happy if I'm not doing that. So
yeah, I enjoy the discomfort and the pressure. It's like, it brings me back to sports. If sports were so easy that just I hit a home run every time, like what would the point be? But the beauty of why hitting a home run's so great is because it doesn't happen that often. You got to deal with the strikeouts and everything else to get there. And you're like, dude, that made it all worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're listening to this podcast, then my guess is you're interested in real estate investing. Some of you are just starting out, while others are trying to scale their business to the next level. But the problem is, with so much information out there, most people don't know which program or coach to trust. Well, I'm a bit biased, but I believe my company, Future Flipper, can help you get to the next level. We've coached thousands of students from all over the world on how to build their real estate investing business. It doesn't matter whether you want to flip, wholesale, or buy rentals. Our coaching program has everything you need to become a great investor. There are many things that we include with coaching, but to give you a few examples, you're going to get an accountability coach. These are people that have had success in their own business, and they want to make sure that you achieve success in yours. We also have all of our documents, our systems, and processes that I've used to buy hundreds of homes. You can copy and paste them directly into your own business. And we have events where you get to meet me, top-level guest speakers, and other students who are crushing it. My students do deals with each other, and I personally do deals with them too. In fact, at a recent event, I just honored over 20 people in our program that made over $1 million in the last year. So if you want to grow your real estate business, head over to futureflipper.com and apply for a call with our team. The call is completely free and they can help point you in the right direction whether you work with us or not. So go to futureflipper.com and book your call today. For the last year, the real estate market has been on absolute fire. Prices are at all-time highs, interest rates are at all-time lows, and there is more money in the economy than ever. But with so much competition, many investors are sitting on cash, struggling to find great deals. If this sounds like you, then you need to invest with Pineda Capital. With my network and social media following, we get access to the best real estate deals all over the country. And if you're an accredited investor, you can invest with me on those deals. In fact, last year we purchased a 334-unit apartment complex in Georgia for almost $20 million. We expect it to be worth well over $30 million when it's all said and done. Our goal with each deal is to build in so much equity from the beginning that we're able to refinance our investors' cash out and own the properties together with little to no money into the deal. And the best part is, you don't have to do anything. Our team will find the deals, handle the renovations, get them leased, and eventually refinanced or sold. All you have to do is provide the capital. So if you want exclusive access to our deals before they hit the public, go to PinedaCapital.com to schedule a call. We can put your money to work today to start getting you great returns. So go to PinedaCapital.com now to get access to our deals. So tell me a little bit about what's next, dude? I mean, you guys got all these units and stuff. Doesn't sound like you're gonna quit. Like, what are you gonna do?
You know, I'm really enjoying passing it on. You know, we have a Facebook group, My First Million in Multifamily, that's got, I don't know, about 24,000 people in it that are, they're learning how to do what we did. And we have a kind of a mentoring coaching program that we just teach people how to do what we did. 3 years, go from 0 units to 1,000. This is how we did it, break it down, and then create that coaching because, like you were saying earlier, yeah, you need the information, but you get numb to it, right? People know if I do these 10 things long enough, a deal will happen, a deal will appear, I'll raise money. But they need that community. They need that borrowed belief. They need that somebody encouraging them, pushing them. And so that's what that private group kind of does, is just keeps them on track. Hey, did you get your KPIs done this week? Did you reach your objectives? Did you call the brokers? Did you talk to the investors? Did you put your pitch deck together? You know, are you putting in the reps to make this happen? You're putting it out there on social media. That's huge, where people want to raise money, they want to find deals, but they won't put their hand up and say, I'm a multifamily investor, I'm looking for an apartment, because they want to have a plan B, right? That in case this doesn't work out, I don't want to have told all these people that I'm doing real estate and then look like an idiot. But, you know, winners don't have a plan B. Like, right. They're like, this is going to work because I'm going to make it work. And it's just going to work.
Yeah. It's funny because, people are scared of embarrassment and, like, putting themselves out there, myself included, right? But, like, everything I've ever done, I went into it with full conviction that it was going to work. Did I have doubts? Sure. But, like, I didn't plan for, like, the doubts. Right? It was like, dude, we're going to do this. And, yeah, it's not going to go as planned. I'm going to pivot and adapt and figure out what to do. But, you know, going into it just saying that, oh, man, what if this doesn't work? Like, I don't want to be embarrassed. That's just dumb. Like, what's being embarrassed is, like, not doing anything. And, you know, for me, even right now, it's funny because I'm going on this huge push for digital real estate, right? I'm promoting, you know, my Tykes NFT and why digital real estate is going to be this huge multi-trillion-dollar industry, right? That's a pretty big claim to be making. Like, you know, I think this is the thing. And nobody else is really saying it. It's like me kind of, I don't even know what they call it, right? Like putting myself out there on the ledge. Right. And if it doesn't work and I look stupid, whatever, I'm going to look stupid, but I think I'm right. And I have full conviction that in the coming years, you know, I'm going to look really smart.
There's a little bit of limited downside to that, right? And it's a little bit of embarrassment and, you know, he was wrong, whatever. But there's a whole lot of upside if you're right. You know, like if you're right, you're on the cutting edge of this. You're the authority. You're the first guy that was saying, hey, NFTs are going to replace funds and NFTs are going to be the future of the way capital is raised and properties are divided. Like, and that's a place that you want to be.
Yeah.
So is it worth the risk of a little embarrassment? Sure.
Yeah, that's what I said. And the risk of embarrassment is worth it for everybody because that's nothing. There's no, look, and I have a lot of monetary risk too in this, in things that I'm doing to develop all this stuff. But like in the end, the main risk is not very significant for most. If your main risk is embarrassment and like failing, that is not a risk.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. But it took me a while to get there. And I think that sometimes it's hard to think back to a couple years ago where you didn't have the wins that you have. You didn't have the successes that you had. You didn't have the track record. And so I try to be that encouraging voice in the now to say, hey, it's going to work out. And if it doesn't, then, just quit talking about it.
Focus on the new thing that's going to work for sure.
Right. Just delete that tweet.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I never said those things. Just delete the entire history of digital real estate.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, no, I mean it's great advice for anybody. So you asked me before the show. You're like, dude, is this an interview? This isn't just an interview, right? I can ask you questions. What did you want to know, dude?
So this is something that I went back and forth with a lot when I was coming up in syndications. And when you syndicate, right, you start basically a little mini fund for that one deal. Mm-hmm. And it seemed sexy to let's do a fund, right? Let's do like a general fund where we're just pooling all this capital and then we can go and deploy it and buy different properties and people would be more diversified. But as I looked into it, I always just was like, it's not worth the hassle. I'll just keep raising individually. That seems easy enough. Why complicate it? Why add a layer of that? And yet I wanted to see, like, you're just getting into it as far as, you got your first big deal closed, which is awesome. You got another one under contract or maybe already closed, and you're going the fund route. Why?
So I actually, let's talk about this. So my first fund, I was doing just that, what you described, where I didn't know what we were going to invest in. We were like, hey, this is going to be a $10 million fund. Whoever wants to invest, like, here's the pref, here's the split, and we're going to go buy great deals. That's it, right? And so when you do a fund, you're basically they're going off your promise and your reputation and all that. And with my reputation, even though I didn't have any in the multifamily space, just having a reputation of being a great operator in lots of businesses, we raised millions of dollars just doing that with no deal. But what ended up happening was there was a ton of investors who didn't like it because they're like, look, Ryan, I like you, but I got to know what I'm buying.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to stroke you a check for $1 million, like I need to know what I'm getting into. And so we started to realize there was all these guys who wouldn't invest, at least initially on this first deal, which is totally understandable. Well, once we got the deal with Tim, the Georgia deal, we started to realize, like, oh man, like all these different deals have different deal structures that they're going to do, like with how much GP they get, the pref, and like now you're basically combining two deals together because we have our fund structure and then we have these guys who want to structure the individual deal that way.
Right.
And so we basically were like, man, this is conflicting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up going to all these investors who, were like, we need to see a deal and how it will play out. And we basically, bridged those deals together. We said, okay, based on how the fund is structured and based on how we're going to structure this specific deal, here would be what your projected return is and stuff. And they were like, this is great. This is an awesome deal. And they're like, but we don't know what else we're going to buy after this deal.
Yeah.
And so we just started to realize, like, man, it's so much easier to go deal by deal. So what ended up happening was, after, all these different investors and things, we ended up raising about $6 million for this deal with Tim.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 334 unit. And that was already over half the fund, And so at that point, we were just like, it's going to be easier just to basically cut the fund off after this deal. So everybody knows exactly what deal they're in, and it'll be easier to raise on subsequent deals.
Okay.
And so we shut the fund off after that deal. And then every other deal after that, we've been raising on a syndication basis.
Okay. So buy deal. So you So you started with that, but you're not really going down that road anymore with the fund
Well,
in that regard.
yeah, I think, well, there's two things now. So we closed that fund, which was Fund 1, and then we bought another 126 units in Iowa, so that added to as a different deal. And then we got a couple other deals under contract right now that we're going to syndicate on a deal-by-deal basis. But we also have a fund number 2, which is a little different. I like to call it like a membership savings account.
Okay.
And so basically, you can put your money in fund number 2, and you're going to make 5 to 6%. And essentially, your money is just sitting there, waiting to be deployed on the next deal.
So they're making 5 to 6% while you're searching for your next deal.
Correct.
So the clock is ticking for you, right?
Not really, because what we do with that money to get the 5 to 6% is we lend it to my house flipping company,
Ah, okay.
because I can get the money moving all the time.
Right.
I flip houses all day, every day.
That's a pretty good solution that most fund managers don't have.
Right. So I thought of this idea, and I've never heard anyone else really doing it. And I was like, all right, let's solve 2 problems. Let's make people's money that's not doing anything make money. My house flipping company can always use more money, so we'll use it and we'll get them their return. And if you invest in Fund 2, what happens is you'll get first access to our deals, and you'll get a better pref.
I saw that. They kind of get the right of first refusal, and they get a little bit better deal than just the person that's going for the individual deal.
Yeah, they
Gotcha.
should be rewarded. And
Yeah.
if they want to keep their money in Fund 2 and add in addition, or if they want to take it out of Fund 2, doesn't matter to us. We're cool with either scenario. And so, yeah, Fund 2 is cool. I think it's a great solution. It's also a great solution for us because, if somebody has money and they want to invest it right now, but you don't have a deal, well, what happens is they go to someone else if you don't have a deal, right? They're like, well,
Exactly.
I got to go put it somewhere. I'm like, well, you can put it in this and at least make something while we get the next deal. And you're going to get a better deal than everyone else when we do this. And so I think it's a great solution that nobody really has. I'm sure people have thought about it, but I just haven't seen it.
Yeah. No, that solves a lot of the conflicts that I've had, because I don't want to be under pressure to close maybe not a great deal because I got to get this money deployed. And I've thought about doing the capital call-up model where they've pledged it, but they haven't actually given you the money yet. But then if you wait too long, they're going to be complaining about, why aren't you getting me a deal? So, okay, that makes sense. So I feel a little better. I'm like, okay. So, because I think that doing it syndication by syndication, at least for this field, seems to make more sense to me than doing the big fund. Unless you have something like you got where you can deploy the money at 6%, and that's great for them, for
It's a
investors.
great saving account.
Well, way better than a saving account.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what I call it like a saving account membership. It's like the goal is not to get your money making 6% forever. It's like a temporary thing.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the only fund we actually have, because that is just an open-ended fund that people can be in and out of. But yeah, I think down the road, I would definitely reconsider just doing like a 5-year fund of just, hey, we're raising whatever, $20 million. And I think that works once you have such a big, great reputation in whatever it is you're investing in that people are just like, yeah, this guy's going to crush it no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, can you tell me more about, I know you have 7 different companies and you're working on the NFT crypto project deal.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep all the balls in the air with that? I have 3 or 4 things going in, and what are you going to do when you, I don't want to say lose interest, but when you want to do your next venture beyond the NFTs, 1 to 2 years down the road?
Right.
How do you handle that?
Yeah, so I'm always thinking about new things. That's where my passion is innovating and thinking about things nobody's ever done, and then building teams and systems around that idea, whether it's a whole new company or if it's just a new product for a current company. The beauty is, with the way I build everything, it doesn't involve me. I always build it with that in mind. It involves me on the initial launch, the creation of it, but I don't want it to involve me on a day-to-day basis because I love creating these new things. So to that end, I totally will be doing something completely different 2 years from now. I'm sure it'll be related to Tykes in some way, where we're creating a digital real estate business, or we're now NFTing these apartments or Airbnbs ever. Like, I don't know. There's going to be so much that happens. But the existing businesses and everything I've built prior will be built in a way that it will still function without me.
Right.
Like you guys are in my office right now. Outside of us is my house flipping company, right? That's been my first true business that, made me $1 million. And dude, I haven't been like involved with those guys in a couple of years, and they're having their best years ever. Like without me, they're doing great. And then the same thing is true of, my CPA firm. Like I'm definitely not involved on the day to day. Even with education, at the end of the day, my commitment is that I have to be on a call, a couple of times a month and show up at our events. Like
Right.
It's not a huge time commitment. So to that end, I'm very cautious of my time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I will commit my time to getting something created and off the ground, but I'm not going to create a job for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
As the world starts to go more digital, you need to be aware of which businesses are going to thrive in the future. One of the obvious ones is e-commerce. In fact, last year, e-commerce sales did over $4 trillion globally, and it's continuing to grow. Now, if you're like most people, you probably don't have time to learn a whole new industry and start a new business. But there is another way. You could partner with us at Lunar Ecom. We have over 300 e-commerce stores that we have created and managed for our clients. And the best part is, it's completely passive on their end. The business model is very simple. You cover the cost of creating and running the store. We handle everything else. We pick the products, we handle fulfillment, returns, and customer satisfaction. After all that, we split profits at the end of the month. This means that when you win, we win. If you want to learn more about how it works, you can watch our case study at lunarecom.com. I believe that the e-commerce space is going to continue to explode as the world goes digital. So make sure you're with the right partner who's going to be ahead of those trends. So go schedule a call with my team today at lunarecom.com if you want to learn about how we can start taking your passive income to the moon. Most people want to get rich at all costs. They make sacrifices with their family, their health, and their faith, all in the pursuit of money without even realizing it. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be that way? What if you could grow your wealth in all areas of life? Well, it's possible, and that's why I created The Wealthy Way. It's a community of people striving to grow together in all areas. And we have multiple tools for you to use that are completely free. You can get access to the Wealthy Way Planner, where you can set goals and hold yourself accountable on a daily basis. We also have our Wealth Builder Academy, which is over 4 hours of content teaching you how to manage your time, create the right goals, and all the biggest secrets I've used to grow my life, not only in my net worth, but in all aspects. Lastly, we have our Discord community where thousands of wealth builders are all over the world encouraging one another and growing together. And once again, all of this is completely free. There are no upsells, there are no hidden catches. For me, this is a passion project, and I want to build a community of like-minded people. So if you want to start living the Wealthy Way today, go to wealthyway.com. There you can get all the free resources like the course, planner, and Discord community. So go to wealthyway.com.
Yeah. That's something that I've had to really focus on, is just pushing everything off my plate and not feeling guilty about it, and being like, hey, if I do that though, I can generate more opportunity for everybody. If I can get this piece off my plate instead of being like, I got to be the guy, right?
Well, I think too, it comes back to your culture. So, when people, I guess come work for me or, go into one of my businesses, they kind of know my persona and what I'm all about, right? So they're like, yeah, of course I'm not talking to Ryan. Like, that's not what he does. And that's why I'm attracted to doing business with him, because he's figured out how to do it without him.
Right.
And so, it works out that way. It's funny because, I had my good friend, Pace Morby on here, and Pace and I have done a few things together now, and Pace is just absolutely crushing it. But him and I are kind of the exact opposites, in that Pace wants to be like on coaching calls every single day, and he'll sit there on live streams for hours, and he absolutely loves it. It's what he's passionate about. I am not that way. Like, I'm like, dude, like, let's make this efficient so it doesn't need me. Like I would, my thing is like if I could die tomorrow and everything still just keeps moving along without me, like that's the goal of every business, so that I am no bottleneck in any of them. And like it's just two separate things that we both are pursuing, right?
Yeah.
And if he were to stop just doing calls tomorrow, everybody would be like, dude, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
If I were to, people would be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that's the next evolution for him.
Right.
And so I think it comes down to the culture. And so like with your employees and stuff, they may be thinking, well, Jennings is always involved in that. Like he's given up on us. Like, why is he doing this? And you're like, no, I haven't given up. Like this is going to be better for everybody.
Right.
Whereas in my companies, they're like, oh, you're doing Tykes now. That's cool. Like, yeah, we'll see you later.
Yeah. They get it. Yeah. they understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's critical to pick those businesses where that is, it has the ability to scale and it can generate enough profits beyond just one salary, right? I think a lot of people, they don't even have a business; they just have a job.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get it where, hey, I can have a CEO or I can have a COO that can run this, it just opens up a whole lot of opportunity for everybody to keep on growing that versus being on you.
Yeah, and that you actually brought up a great point. So about COOs and CEOs. So there's two things that prevent people from like doing what I'm doing and whatever. One is trust. Like they just do not trust anyone else to do what they do.
Yeah.
They're like, they're not as good. They're going to screw it up. My business is going to burn if I'm not the head, like whatever. And I found the opposite to be true. When I find good COOs, my business actually get way better because they're so good and talented at things I'm not as good at. And also, too, they're fully dedicated to that one business, whereas I am not.
Yeah.
And so a COO is actually the first thing I look for when starting a new business. Like with Tykes and like the businesses I'm building in digital real estate, the COO is the first guy I'm hiring. It's not the developers or anyone else. Like I need the guy who's going to run the day-to-day of this. So, that's number one is like trust. But for me, number two, that's actually crossing my mind is CEO, because I am the CEO in all these companies. And I'm kind of thinking like, man, do I need a CEO, beyond the COO? Because like, to your point, if I start going down these other rabbit holes, like let's just say Tykes and digital real estate become this like, 9-figure, even $1 billion opportunity where I'm like, hey guys, I need to like actually devote all my time into this. Like this is the one. But these guys still need some type of visionary
leader.
It might come down to where it's like, all right, like let's hire a CEO, somebody, or promote within, right? Somebody, the COO becomes the CEO or whatever, right? I've thought about that. And I think that will come as all companies get bigger.
Well, and even with your NFT thing, it may come to a point where you're not the most qualified person to be the CEO.
Yeah, 100%.
You're getting into some pretty big opportunities, and there are guys that, that's their whole life and has been for a decade. I remember however long.
A decade.
A decade
for crypto.
but they know far more than you're ever going to know.
100%.
And I think we also got to look at like, what is our God-given talent as far as what are we really, really good at? And for me, I know I'm not the best at building systems and processes and teams and all that. Like I am visionary. I'm kill and eat. I like to win. I like the sales side. I like raising capital. I like finding the deal. But, scaling that machine, I'm not the best at that. So, I've been approached by some groups to partner with them and raise capital. And it's kind of attractive in some way, where as long as they're a trusted operator, where I don't have to push that company along, I can get a piece of the pie, I can work hard one time, and then, be done.
Right.
That just fits my personality a little better than let me build this huge brand with teams and employees and HR, and that's not my talent.
Yeah, so I mean, like our fund works in the same way, with Pineda Capital. It's like people trust me to, be great with their money. which is amazing. And it's just based on reputation and track record. So like we don't build out systems to find deals and stuff. Like it's just simply building relationships, the social media following. People send us deals. Like, you were telling me about the deal, the Hawthorne deal we bought. And, you're like, yeah, I looked at it, and it was just way overpriced a year ago. And then we ended up getting it for less. And, it's been a great deal. But like that deal just out of the blue. It's not like I was looking in Iowa. It was just like, Chris, the guy who, we partner with was like, yo, I know Ryan. Like, do you want to do this deal with us? You raise the money. We know operations. This is a great deal. And we said, great. And then we raised the money like that for it. And it was done.
Yeah.
It was just like, Pineda Capital is really just doing what you said you want to do. It's like, we're good at raising money. We'll raise money. Just bring us great deals and great operators, and let's merge it all together.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the key. And when you get into the multifamily world, it is pretty small, where you start knowing who's making moves and the brokers that have the deals. And a lot of these deals happen, through texts and calls and behind closed doors, and they're never on market. It's just who you know. We put a deal under contract. We sold we're selling one of our properties. And yeah, I mean, the broker, we talked to him, he talked to a couple friends, and I mean, like, no one ever even knew it was under contract, and it
was done.
It was done. Same thing. We got another deal in Georgia that, it's like an inside track of a guy that I knew was qualified to close it. And I made a call. I said, I want 70,000 a door. He's like, I can do 68. Done. So those kind of things, you've got to build a network. And I think that's why the social is so critical, because we have the same thing. People in our deal room bring us deals, and I didn't want to build it like strictly. I think some education companies can be like a bottleneck where the leader builds it to just bring me deals, and yet he has a very narrow focus on what he wants to close. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't fit his buy box, then everyone's frustrated.
Right.
And so, yes, he cherry picks out one or two a quarter, but everybody else doesn't get to close the deal. So what I did was I brought in like multiple loan sponsors, multiple capital raisers, so that when someone brings me a deal, and I don't really like that area, or that's a little more than I want to pay per door, but it doesn't mean it's a bad deal. I can connect you with this person, or I can still help you break through and create momentum and get your first deal closed, because that law of the first deal, where if you do that, if you can close one, 18 unit, you can close a 30 unit, you can close a 50 unit, you can close 1,000 units in a couple of years.
100%.
It's inevitable. You will probably have 5,000-6,000 units in the next 3-4 years easily, or more. Yeah. And so because you got that first one done.
Yeah. And it all goes back down to what we said at the beginning of the episode, which is masterminds and getting around the right people, right? Like at the end of the day, you're saying that these deals happen because you're in the right masterminds and people around you, right? They're in your mastermind. They get to do deals with you, but even if they don't do a deal with you, they're going to go do a deal with somebody, because they're in the right place. And it's just so important for building these relationships. Like you said, with the brokers, like, how do you think you build relationships? It ain't from just being in the shadows, just by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put yourself out there.
I know. And they're like, oh, I want these relationships, but okay, well, reach out to people, text people, call them, shoot them an email, interact on Facebook, post, comment, like their stuff. Like it's not rocket science. And yet I feel like 90% of people just, they're lurking online. There's no engagement. They're not givers, right? Mm-hmm. They're just taking, consuming without reciprocating. And that doesn't get you where you want to go.
No, not at all. Yeah. I tell people, it's funny because I saw a quote from Gary Vee a while back. They're like, Gary, you always talk about the same stuff all the time. You say the same things over and over. He was like, what, you want me to lie and come up with something new that just like isn't true? Like the same stuff works that I've been saying for years. Like, do you want me to change the advice just because it gets boring? Like nothing has changed. And I think it's true too, because I catch myself on a lot of my content, like repeating over and over the same things. And like social media is a constant theme, right? Because it dominates our world today of like who is influential, who gets deals, who people want to work for, who people want to do like everything. And I'm like, guys, social media is pretty important. They're like, well, duh. But like, what else can we do to get deals besides social media? And I'm like, well, you can do XYZ, but I would rather you just do social media because it's more valuable than doing XYZ.
Right. Yeah, it's like you could put up a billboard. I mean, I guess you could run a TV ad. Like, social media is free. It's like if there's a basket of money sitting there and you can go up to that basket of money and grab a handful of money as many times as you want, like, why would you not do that? And that's what social media is, except it's delayed gratification, right? It takes time before you see that, the results of it. Like, you're not going to make one post and you find a deal. You make one post, you get $1 million, and
But actually, I mean, but even still, that does happen.
It does. Yeah.
I see people who do it, and they're like, "Yeah, dude, it was crazy. I started posting finally, and I raised $500,000." I'm like, I know. Imagine if you did that every day.
I know.
But even to the pile of money example, it's like, yeah, people see everyone else going to that pile of money, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know, dude. Everybody's going to the pile of money. Like, it's gonna either run out or I just don't want to be like everyone else." And so they're like, "Where's this other pile of money that I can't find that no one else knows about? It's like under this rock, and it's less money for sure. And I got to go move the rock and the boulder. And it's way more work, but like that's how I see it."
You feel like a copycat, but I'm proud of a copycat. I will say I'm not that original. I'm really good at just like seeing success and just emulating that.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, that worked.
Yeah.
I
I would say I'm a blend. I like obviously look at what works and I want to emulate it, but then I also think, okay, but where are the problems with what they're doing? Like, I'm very good at identifying flaws in people's logic or what they're doing, and I'm like, that is a good idea, but here's the problem with it. And I'm like, but that means there's this really big solution that no one's doing that's going to be big.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And I can get creative. And as far as creative with money or raising money, I wanted a yacht. Okay. So I'm like, I took some sailing classes, and these guys had these beautiful catamarans, and I asked the guy, how do you do that? Like, how do these people afford these, whatever? And they're renting them out, they're Airbnb-ing them, and then the owner's using them when they want to use them. I'm like, hey, that's just like an apartment. I can do that.
Right.
So yeah, I asked him, well, what kind would fit the Charleston market? He's like, if you get a Power Cat, this size, 3 bedrooms, that'll rent.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew what I wanted, and then I put it out there and syndicated it, essentially. And yeah, we got like 3 guys, and we all pulled in the down payment, and boom, got a yacht. Now, it's not making money, but...
I thought about that, with a jet. I don't need a yacht. I'm not like, I'm in Vegas in the desert. But, with these NFTs, like my team's like, dude, we're going to have to create the meta jet. We're going to NFT a jet, and we're going to, basically syndicate it. Everybody buys all these shares, and then you get access to the jet and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I know we're like joking around because it would be so funny, but like we're probably really going to do this at some point.
I don't doubt it. Why not?
I know. And I'm just like, it's so dumb, the things that we could do today. But like, if you could create win-win scenarios where everybody is like happy with what's going to happen, cool.
It's, we were talking about this morning. It's like, when you look at like, how can I do this? It just is like problem fraught versus like, who can help me do this? Where it's like, who else wants a piece of a jet? Who else would like to fly private every once in a while?
Right.
Maybe they don't have $500,000 a year to burn on maintenance, and they don't have $20 million to buy the jet, but they've got, 10, 15, 50 grand to dedicate to a jet a year.
Right.
So how can I help that guy get what he wants? If I get enough of them to help get what they want, then I can get what I want, which is the meta jet.
Right. Exactly. That's how I look at it, dude. Well, man, it's been great hearing your story, dude. I did not know you did the meta yacht, I'm going to call it, but that's pretty tight. And I think it's super inspiring that, you already got over 1,000 units in just 3 years. And I mean, freaking the next 3 years will probably be way faster. What's the goal, dude? 5,000 units the next 3 years? What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep buying good deals as I see them. But I think that I need to I need to do what you did. I think if I'm going to scale the apartments to 5,000 doors, I've got to make some transitions because I don't want, right now I'm pretty much asset managing these 1,500 units and I don't want to do that with
that's a nightmare.
5,000. Yeah. So I got to find my who with that. And I think that I want to trend more towards the capital side. You know, there's just a lot of scale in that and you can connect with good operators and there's plenty of people that want what I have or want, they want capital. They need capital. And that's a great skill set I have. So I see myself focusing more towards that over the next 2 to 3 years and growing that side. But yeah, man, the sky's the limit. You know, you don't know what's around the corner.
I love it, dude. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed Jennings' story. Where can they find you, dude?
The best place to find me is on Instagram, Jennings Foster Smith Jr., my full
He's got his 3 last names on there. Nice.
Find me on Instagram, Facebook, Jennings Smith, and My First Million in multifamily. If you're interested in multifamily, that's a great place to just start. It's free. It's a cool community to get plugged into.
Where do they find that?
That's on Facebook. Yeah.
My First Million.
My First Million. Yep. And then my podcast, which I got to get you on there, Unlock Your Life.
Okay.
I have never had a guest though, so you may be like, I just do the solo thing, but I want to switch it up. So.
All right, man. I'll have to hop on there.
But Unlock Your Life, that's on all the Apple and all that stuff. But
dope, man.
Dude, I appreciate it a lot. This was really fun.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming out to Vegas. And guys, make sure you go give Jennings a follow. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you are so inclined, leave a 5-star review. I'd appreciate it. I'll catch you on the next podcast. Peace.
Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.